Hello, everyone. It's John again. I want to thank you for tuning in and listening now to our fourth episode of this series. Um, I did go back and actually listen to uh, the last uh, the last episode that I put out, and I had recorded that at 11:30 night at night on a weeknight. So of course I'd been working all day. I was really tired, but I just said to myself, I want to just get this done. I want to get this out. And that was clear in my voice. I was listening to it and it was just really fragmented. And I was like, listening to it, I was like, what was I thinking? So as I record this now, I'm a little bit more rested and actually really excited to share with you. We are going to do the budget. Last episode, we introduced our fictional protagonist, Victor, and he is ready to start on his budget. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Before we dive into this, I do have one thing I want to talk about. Let's do this. And then this. Okay, so we did talk about the baby steps, so I won't rehash that, at least in full. So we know that the first step for Victor is going to be saving $1,000 for a starter emergency fund. But I thought it'd be important to touch on why an emergency fund is important. And there's a couple of reasons. So the most obvious is when unexpected expenses come up, you have to be ready. And I can't stress this enough. Deferred interest creditors will be on the prey if you're not. And I don't use that to use flowery language, but it really is the case. And I'm going to give an example here. And of course, it does offer a peace of mind. So this is an image that I took a couple days ago on a bike ride. It's pretty commonplace. There's nothing out of the ordinary, but I kind of wanted to hone in on a sign. The sign says six month no interest financing. So that is, deferred interest financing. A lot of retailers will offer this, but there's a lot of catches to this. I'll first explain the two big players and then how they make money doing this. So there's, like I said, two big players in this, two big banks. They do a lot of business, but of course there's a multitude of others. Citibank and Synchrony are probably the two biggest. And it's all a numbers game. And when I say that, they have, with their borrowers, they have a portfolio for this product, and they're constantly evaluating, or they have a team that's constantly evaluating the metrics on it. What is the percentage of borrowers that isn't paying it back within 6 months? That is what is in the credit card industry. It's referred to as what percentage is of our borrowers are revolving their debt. I don't think that would necessarily be the case with this particular product, but and I'm sure they have another term. I'm just not familiar with it. But what happens when you go beyond, when you borrow money, like in this case for a Midas, let's say it's an $800 car repair bill. The bank, Synchrony, will obviously credit Midas for the work, and then they'll send you a bill for the $800. You'll have 6 months, of course, without any interest charges to pay that back. And they are betting that you are not going to pay that back in 6 months. In 6 months, and the chances are actually pretty reasonable that they are correct. Now, there are obviously some people who do, but I can't stress enough that life happens. You may have the best of intentions to pay that back in 6 months, but you may have a water heater that goes out at home or something else, and you have to borrow money for that. And if you just had the money in a savings account, you'd be able to pay them right then and there. And I understand, I don't mean to be demeaning when I say that or dismissive when I say that. Obviously, you got to have a plan to get it there, and we'll talk about that. But what happens is after that 6 months and 1 day, if that balance is not at zero, the interest will be retroactively charged from when the loan was first issued. So in this case, it would be 6 months worth of interest will be applied to that balance. And it's usually at a pretty high interest rate depending on your credit. So I could easily see, like in our example, like an $800 car repair bill, you could easily tip that over to 1,000. And of course, they make money doing that. And that's why they keep doing it. So I want you guys to be on guard to this kind of stuff. And hopefully, in our fictional scenario, Victor will avoid this. So I'm going to go ahead and exit out of here. Open this up. So I do have an Excel document here. This is what we're going to use to create our budget. There's nothing wrong with using the popular apps like Mint and Dave Ramsey's Every Dollar. When you're first starting out, though, it is good to be thinking about this stuff, and it's a little bit more manual than just plugging in some numbers. But of course, here would be my suggestion. I would start out with the spreadsheet. That way, because you're going to have to list out your debts anyway, you might as well continue on with that exercise and put it on a spreadsheet. If at some point in the future you want to use an app to make things easier, by all means. But I would challenge you to at least start with a spreadsheet. Okay. So we are going to first create 2 tabs, or rename the first one rather. Call this schedule. And then this one, I call June, obviously for the month of June. And I'll explain the schedule tab here in a moment. All right, so I'm going to pull this up. All right, so Victor starts his job on the 1st of June. Now, if you've ever started a job, chances are pretty good your start date usually puts you at the awkward end of a payroll cycle, so you're only going to get paid for a week's worth of work. And that's exactly what's going to happen to Mr. Victor here. The payroll cycle for the city of Omaha cuts on June 5th, and employees are paid on the 12th. So Victor is actually only going to get paid half of his salary for the first week, or for the first payroll cycle, because he's only getting paid for this amount of work here. So, okay. So the first thing I do, I abbreviate pay period with PP, and that's going to be pay period 12. And then the next one, I believe, is the 26th. That is correct. Pay period 26. Actually, do that. So if you remember back on our last session, we said that Victor would have a starting salary of $65,000 a year. Now, I've already plugged that into a net paycheck calculator, and it's already provided me with what his tax deductions, not tax deductions, but tax withholdings would be in the state of Nebraska. And I came up with the figure of, let's see here, $1,821.40. And that sounds about right. Okay. And then, so half of that, I believe, would be just over $900. We'll check here. Yeah, $910.70. Okay. All right, so we're going to assign some expenses to Mr. Victor. So the first and foremost is his rent. So ideally, if you're figuring out your living situation while you're trying to get out of debt, ideally, if you can live with your parents, um, that is certainly going to help. That's going to go a long way towards accelerating getting out of debt, even if it's just for in the first 6 months to a year. And you're not completely out of debt, but you've gotten a few accounts paid off. Because I understand when you're young, it's not a place you necessarily want to be. But I can't stress it enough how much it helps, and just being able to maybe put some pride aside and buckle down for a little while. Like I said, helps out a lot. The other alternative is if you have roommates or friends that could become roommates. Another great idea. Save you a lot of money, and again, being able to accelerate getting out of debt. But in Victor's case, he makes a pretty good income. That's not an excuse for him to go out and rent a very expensive apartment. But in his case, he's going to go ahead and rent a studio apartment in Omaha, Nebraska. And I think that's appropriate given where he is at. So I'm going to say $550, which is within the realm of possibility. Okay. And his gas for his car, we're going to go ahead and say 50. I know that seems a little low for his, and that's for every 2 weeks for his Jeep Grand Cherokee. We can adjust that if need be. That's grocery. This is an important thing. When you're getting out of debt, you are not going to be eating out. Every once in a great while, if you want to, stop for an ice cream cone or something like that, that's fine. But you really have to be mindful of sticking to your grocery budget and just, going to Aldi's, going to Walmart, whatever it is, and sticking to that. Okay, $80. Cell phone. Okay. We're going to go ahead and say $50. Car insurance. Now, Mr. Victor bought that brand new Jeep Grand Cherokee, which is going to make this line item pretty expensive. Even though he has a good driving record, I'm going to put it at $170 because that's about right. We're going to go ahead and do here, do total. Actually, I'm going to move this down. Total expenses. All we're going to do is just line these up. We're going to add them. Okay, $900. We're going to create a category. Remaining. Okay, and what I'm doing here, this is just all we're doing is subtracting. We're subtracting the two cells that are highlighted, and you always have to put an equal sign in so Excel knows that you're typing in a formula. Okay, so this pay period, just because he's only getting paid for 1 week's worth of work, it's going to be really tight. So he's not going to be able to mess around too much with his budget here. Okay, we'll go to the next pay period. We'll start with gas. Or say $50. Grocery. And you may find out too, it doesn't cost you $80 every 2 weeks to go grocery shopping. You can trim that down. You like to clip coupons, and that is amazing. That will go a long way towards helping you as well. So I definitely encourage that. Victor is going to get cable internet. Again, this is probably a little bit more discretionary, but I would say it's important enough. And just given his job, if he needs to do a little bit of work at home, you got to have it. So $50. Okay. I did misspell it. Okay, good. Okay, $85 for electricity. Other utilities like gas and water. The next line item is going to be giving, and I'll pause here for a moment. You may be wondering, well, I'm trying to get out of debt. Why would I be giving money? If you ever listen to Dave Ramsey, he is actually quite passionate on this subject, regardless of what you think of him. He's someone who I believe in his innermost being is a very generous person, and you can tell when he talks about it, he gets a lot of joy from giving, and he very much encourages his audience to do the same. Now, when callers call in and ask him about this very question, he says that this is a very personal decision you have to make, whether or not you're gonna give money to your church, towards any other cause that you really care about. And I'll just speak from experience. It provides me just such great joy and clarity to be able to give. When I was getting out of debt, I did, throughout the entire process, I did give at least something during that time. And what that did is it helped refocus my eyes on away from my goals and what I'm trying to achieve, towards reminding me that this is God's money and I'm managing it. It really helped pull me back, and yeah, just reminded me that, hey, this isn't about you. You're doing this to glorify God with your bank account, and that's why you're doing this. So in Victor's case, I'm going to set his giving at $300. But again, that's proportional to his income. That's where he feels comfortable at. You really need to determine, number one, what you can do and what you feel like you're led to do, if at all. Okay, now we're going to get into the longer term liabilities, like the medical debt. What's going on here? Okay. Say $50 there. And I calculated this out. I'm actually going off of another spreadsheet here. And I'll, of course, bring that table over for this scenario. That's actually what's going to go on a schedule tab. $265. $673. Okay. Okay, he has a little bit more left over. And then what I like to do, this is what I do on my budget. Okay. Oops, not. Okay. I like to color this so we know what we're talking about a monthly. Okay, and that is a budget for June. Now this is really simplified. You can make this far more complex than what I did here, but this is really just showing us our net income minus our expenses, and then what's left over it, so we can apply that to our debt. So with our schedule here, I am going to copy this table that I made over. And again, because this is from our fictional scenario, that's why I didn't go into great depth of walking you through it. All I did was, fix an interest rate to the loan and give it a minimum payment due based off of that. And of course, that is what we will use to pay down, what Victor will use to pay down his debt. Now this tab here is very much like a dashboard. And I'll show you. Okay. So if we go back to here, we know that we have $234.10 to apply to the emergency fund because that's our first goal. And we're going to list our goals. That's our first goal. $234.10. I'm going to cover this in green since we know that we're really talking about money that he's going to save. All right. So to move on with this, we're actually going to go in, because we're projecting out, we're going to go ahead and create July's budget. So the good news is once you've built one, you can copy and paste it over into the next tab. But I do say that with a caveat that each month is going to be unique. So you don't just want to copy and paste it and leave it. We have to really look critically and make sure we're adjusting for the month that we're in. Oops. Okay. Okay. All right. So the big thing that's going to change this month is he's going to have 18, 21, 40. So one of the things I want to do here is actually move our giving over. Insert down. Move this over. Okay. We'll delete this, of course. Or yes, okay. And let's go ahead and move this medical debt over here. Okay. All right. Yeah, that's going to mess up our formulas. Okay. All right. Yeah, so that's pretty even. That's just why I moved it around. And you may, and I didn't explain this earlier. I did not explain this earlier. I break it out into pay periods for this exact reason. A lot of budgets, they'll just list the sum of your net income and then you list all your expenses for that month. Especially when you're getting out of debt though, and if you're an hourly worker and income fluctuates, it's really important to be able to separate that out into different pay periods so you can move stuff around, because most of your creditors, if you need to move a due date, they're pretty flexible with that. And that's what you want to figure out, is what needs to go where. Like with the last month, giving had to be towards the end of the month. But ideally, I like it to be towards the beginning. But yeah, of course, any of this can be probably moved around. But okay, so this month, let me double check something here. Something's not right. What's throwing me off here? Oh, that's, yes, okay, because I moved it around. E, E12, yes, okay, that makes more sense. And we actually have to tell it to, actually with all of this, we have to, you have to tell Excel you're talking about currency. Okay, that looks better. So this month we have $1,144.80. Let's go back to our schedule. So I split July into two. Obviously, there's only 1 month, but we're going to do, the reason we're doing that, since in this month, we're going to have $1,144.80. Obviously, he's going to reach his first goal, which is to save $1,000. So let's just do this real quick. $1,144.80. And let's do $1,000 minus 234.10. Okay, we know that's going to be $765.90. Let's also do $1,144.80 minus $765.90. Okay, so these figures are going to be pretty important. So we know to get to $1,000, because all I'm doing is breaking this out and where it needs to go. So the first part of that is going to be $765.90. Put that. And just real quick here, so you can see what I'm doing. That's our $1,000. And actually, I do want to keep that there. So our first medical debt is going to be the $2,500. That is not going to be red. Or excuse me, that's not going to be green. And what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to say B4 minus the $378.90. That's again what we have left over from that $1,144.80 to apply towards the debt for the month of July. And that's going to be our new balance. And again, just for simplicity, I'm going to keep that in red. Okay, I don't know why it's giving me a hard time with that. Okay, and we're just going to clear that because that was kind of just a side note, so you could see how I was doing that. Okay, so by the end, and again, this is by the end of the month, our balance should be there. So now we'll go ahead and we'll do one more month here. Rename August. Okay. All right. And just to drive my point home that every month is going to be unique, and it's August. Victor and Anna got invited to a wedding. So guess what? He has to purchase a gift. He doesn't have to go crazy, but he does have to budget for a wedding gift. We're going to go ahead and say $50 for this. Okay. So now this month, he's going to be able to apply $1,094.80. Okay. Now by the end of August, his payment should be, or his balance should be $1,026.20. Oh, I'm sorry, that's 80 cents. I think I put 90. I did. Okay. There we go. $1,026.30 will be his balance. Okay. So I think it's a very reasonable goal that he is going to pay off medical debt. in this year. So we're going to mark that as a goal. I also think it's reasonable, obviously, because he's paying that off. We'll say start paying off credit card. Because he went through and paid this off, we're going to put a checkbox. These are available within Excel. Like I said, I just copied that from another spreadsheet that I have. Okay, so hopefully this makes a little bit of sense. Again, this is his emergency fund. He was able to get that done pretty quickly. If it takes you a little bit longer, that's completely fine. Like I said in my first video, when I first started this journey, I think for me, for my $1,000 emergency fund, it took me, it was either 3 or 4 months. But it was good once I got it done, because you do feel that satisfaction, like, okay, like I can do this. I'm seeing some progress. And before Victor knows it, this medical debt's going to be paid off, and we're going to see he's going to have that that extra $50 to apply towards his next debt, because again, that's the debt snowball. Again, any questions or comments that you have, please do let me know. I would love to answer those. And if you wouldn't mind hitting the subscribe button on YouTube, the little bell notification, that way you know when these videos are published. That would certainly help out a lot. I want to again thank you for watching this, and I hope to see you guys soon. See you guys.